Hi, everyone. I thought I would share about some time that I spent living with a golem. Uh, as many of you may know, my house was haunted for 13 years and it was extreme paranormal activity. And, you know, it's, I've talked about it on interviews and I wrote a book about it called The Haunted Guest House, and it's on Amazon if anyone's interested about that. But after we cleared the house, um, the very first thing that I ever saw that was a non-human being um, happened right after we cleared the house. And so what happened is I was in bed and I saw something at the end of my bed looking around my feet. Like, my feet were under the blanket. So it was like peeking around the end. And it was this gray bald head. And I was looking at it going, what is that? And it would duck behind my feet and it would look on the other side of my foot, peek this way and duck and peek and duck. And I was like, what is that? Because it was gray and it was bald. And I was like, is that, an ET? And so I just didn't know. But I checked and I was like, well, I can still move. And a lot of stories about ETs, when people are being abducted, they can't, move their body and they have no control. So I thought, well, I can still move, so I'm not being abducted, but I don't know what that is. Okay, so I went to bed. And I know a lot of people probably wouldn't have done that. And I always get asked, like, weren't you scared? Why weren't you scared? I don't know. I don't know why I'm not scared. Maybe because I had already lived through so much other stuff, like, scratches and bruises and this and that of the paranormal activity. But what I did realize about, the paranormal activity, we had demons in my house, I was I was getting jumped on. My body was being jumped on. Um, but the thing is that they couldn't really hurt me that much. Like, yeah, I could get scratched or bruised, but it wasn't like they could kill me or anything. So I don't know. I I just I don't get scared. So I went to bed and the next morning, my daughter wakes up and I'm like, what is in my room? And she said, I don't know what that is, but it looks like a golem from Lord of the Rings. And I was like, well, what is it? Is it a dead person, a spirit? Is it a demon? Is it an ET? And she goes, I don't know. Okay, that was the truth. We don't know what it is. But when we talked to Michael Shaman, he said, oh, golems are great to have around the house. You should try to get a picture of one. That's what people apparently try to do, is they try to catch one on camera. So here we've got this golem. It, I'm going to say, I did not see it that first time with my third eye. It was in my dimension and I was seeing it with my physical eyes, like just like you and I could be in the same room. That's what it does. But it would also pop out of our dimension. So it was multi-dimensional. So many, many, many times I would see it peek in my living room window while I was watching TV, or it would run by my window and it runs very fast. But half the time it would be in our dimension. So I'm going to continue to stress that it can manifest into our dimension and out. So it was really, really kind of crazy. And I remember one time my daughter saw him run. We named him Precious after the being in Lord of the Rings. My daughter saw him run up the driveway, broad daylight. She goes, Mom, I just saw Precious run up the driveway with my eyes. And I was like, how do you think I've been seeing him this whole time? He comes into our dimension and he goes out, and sometimes you could still see him even when he was invisible, because it was like you could see the air kind of bending around him. Kind of like in the movie Predator, when the that alien thing was invisible, but you could still see the outline of it. It was like that. And I could see him invisibly take off and run in the air and like fly. So, he didn't have wings, but he could run on air. He was very hyper. I'm going to say that his personality was like a toddler. He would get really hyper and run around in circles around my house out on the outside. Run, run, run. Um, he would jump in the dryer and tumble with the laundry. So he was very playful and joyful, and I liked him. I don't know. My daughter would get annoyed with him because he would make her alarm clocks go off in the middle of the night. Um, so I told one of my friends who astral travels, hey, you should come in, pop into my house on the astral and check out the golem I have. And he actually popped into Precious's house, which it's like a hobbit hole underneath my bedroom in another dimension, though, of course, I'm going to stress, not in 3D Earth. And in that home, he had a stove, he had a lot of antique furniture, and my friend described things that had gone missing over the years here in my house that I was blaming on the paranormal activity. So it was Precious that was taking some of the things. Not that we cared, but one of the things was from my daughter's baby room. Like it was a carousel that you can wind up on the bottom and it would spin, and it had like animals, like circus animals, or like, those rides, a carousel ride. But it was a mini carousel. And he had that. So I realized I knew I never got rid of it. I don't remember when it went missing because I didn't notice. And I figured Precious has been with us for years and years, and we didn't realize it because of the paranormal activity was, getting our attention. Probably, and I want to say, there's more psychics who can see ghosts and human spirits, probably because that's the closest to our vibration as living 3D beings. Um, Golems are on that fairy dimension, the fae. So fairies, gnomes, things that, house elves, trolls, all these things are in this other bandwidth, another frequency that is close to us, but higher than us, because we do not materialize and dematerialize from dimensions. We do not apport items, from other dimensions into our dimension generally. Maybe a high vibration person can do that. We would leave apple juice out for Precious as a snack. He loved apple juice. He didn't really care for pineapple juice. So, I mean, we had a lot of fun with Precious. His personality was toddler-like. He did have a relative that moved in with Michael Shaman for a while. I can't remember what they called him, the name they gave him. I don't remember. Rascal. They called him Rascal. But that golem had a different personality, and it would just chill out and watch TV and visit with Michael. Precious wasn't like that. He was very, very like, it was literally like having a hyper toddler around. And I remember for like a week, Precious was staying over at Michael Shaman's, and he kind of got annoyed with him because he was like jumping and hitting the mini blinds and making noise all the time around the house. Anyways, I'm gonna show a drawing that I did of Precious right now, because that's what I do. Um, so this is Precious. He looks very similar, right, to Smeagol from Lord of the Rings. But the character Smeagol was possessed by the ring, and it was kind of like a greedy, selfish, negative character. Um, but ours was, really fun, and I don't know, I enjoyed having him around. I have to say, I did put a ring camera up, and I bought a field camera that I put in the yard to try to catch Precious on camera. And he would run right across the ring. He would either duck under, I could see him duck under it, or he would run right by it, but so fast that it didn't trigger the motion sensor. And so I never could catch him on camera. But Precious didn't want to be caught on camera, and he was conscious of the camera being there. And so he ended up leaving my property. And I'm not going to lie, I cried because, and my daughter thought I was so ridiculous. But I felt like he was just part of our family. He'd been with us for so many years, and I enjoyed him being around. He did go with me places. Like if I went to the movies, he would bounce around the theater. Um, he did go with me out of the house and he'd be in my car and stuff, and I could just feel his energy around me. Um, so yes, trying to catch his picture, he ended up leaving. And he does visit sometimes, but not very often. I don't know. I don't think he liked being in a house where we were so aware of him and we were, able to see him. So he's at somebody else's house where they don't realize he's even there. Um, I've had other beings move into Precious's little hobbit hole. I had what looks like Dobby, and I drew him and a troll and stuff, but they didn't stay. They were just here temporarily. We do have portals to that dimension here at the house, so maybe that's why we get, beings popping in and out from the Fey dimension, which I'll share about other times. I just wanted to talk about that. I'm not sure. So their dimension, I'm not sure how much higher vibration it is than us. Like Earth is shifting now from the third to the fifth, right? I think reptilians are on the fourth. Possibly some of them are on the fifth. So what I was going to talk about is because I think people, they might fear somebody like Precious or think that he's negative, and I'm not sure what vibration they are, but there is a limit to how high of a vibration something can be and be negative polarity, which I'm not sure the Fae might be too high for that idea. And by positive and negative polarity, I mean like positive beings are, their egos are not so high and they might be, more caring about other people and the whole planet and all that stuff, like less selfish. And negative polarity might be more self-serving and you know what I mean? Like, I don't mean like full on just evil and good and evil and duality like that. I'm just talking about a certain polarity that um, that people can be positive and negative polarity because people are mostly in the third dimension right now. But at some point, as we're shifting up higher, and I don't know where the line is, maybe somebody watching this knows better than me. Um, but at some point, you can't raise higher and stay negative polarity. You would have to transfer over to positive polarity to rise higher than a certain level. Could be fourth, could be fifth. I'm not sure where that line is. I don't know where the fairy dimension is, but I do believe they're in a closer vibration to us, which is why, like I was saying, more psychics see spirits of humans. And then there's the ones that see fairies, which is higher vibration, clearly. And you could tell the vibration because of what they can do. If they're higher vibration, they can be multidimensional, apport, fly, like all these things that, we are not doing here on a third dimension. Anyway, I just wanted to share about my experience living with a golem. I think Precious was great. Somebody had commented when I mentioned Precious on the Jeff Mara interview, and they had said they had a negative interaction with what they think was a golem. I don't know if it was or not a golem, or if a golem can really be negative and be the vibration they are, or if it was another kind of being. Like I thought that the golem was an ET at first. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, I welcome anybody else's ideas in the comments below. I love to hear, different takes, different stories, and different theories. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope everyone has a beautiful day.